The girl. I was sorry to have the company go out in this way after my years of connection with it, but there was something on my mind at that time that was more important to me than any business in the country. I was making plans for a home and I was anxious to be independent. I filed a homestead in a desirable section of Rock Creek in '97, and I already had part interest in a horse ranch, which was paying well because of the increased demand for broke horses in the newly settled agricultural areas of Dakota and Montana. It was not difficult to accumulate a respectable stock of cattle, and I filed the brand AW on the left shoulder called the Lazy EA. In 1893, I complicated things further by accepting the appointment to the office of Deputy Sheriff under Skye Small at Glasgow. With the county still alive with cattle thieves and a nest of train robbers, that job was a lively and absorbing affair, and it kept me worried. Not over it, but because it kept me so busy I was afraid of losing out on other projects I was interested in and getting a home. As I said, I had the means for the home and the location for the house was all picked out, but the house didn't make a home. I was worried about the girl. It is true that this was a new country and girls were few, but that wasn't bothering me. I had my girl all picked out, and I wouldn't have taken a substitute if I had had all New York instead of Glasgow to pick one from. She had come west with her mother and father when the Great Northern built through Glasgow. Her father was a construction engineer with the company, and with the continental expansion of the road, he found it worthwhile to locate permanently. Elsie, his daughter, who later became my wife, was all wrapped up in the idea of getting a county school district organized. She was more enthusiastic about the barefoot youngsters, and she was teaching reading, writing, and arithmetic in the town hall at Hinsdale than she was about any of the boys that came around to annoy her in the evenings. I didn't give in, though, and finally something happened that seemed to help her decide. We had been having more trouble with Hardy and his band of thieves, and I had been gone with the posse from Glasgow for days and hadn't sent any word to Elsie, who was teaching school at Hinsdale about 30 miles away. When I finally came in from the trail, I reported at Glasgow and was tired after several days in the saddle, and nights too, but I didn't unsaddle. I kept on going until I reached Hinsdale early in the evening. This was one time I was really relieved to get out of the saddle. I tried to brush up a little, then I went to call on Elsie, only to be told she had gone to a dance at Saco that evening. Saco was 14 miles away, but I wasn't in the frame of mind to hesitate. I jumped right back into the saddle and was on the trail again as fast as the poor horse could travel. That was the longest 14 miles I've ever covered in the saddle. I got there before the dance was over, and this time I didn't wait to brush off. I went right to the dance hall and found the Hinsdale crowd. There wasn't any use to talk to Elsie. I settled in with her escort, and in a little while she was apologizing for having a broken axle on his wagon. I offered to take her home and did so a little while later in the same wagon she had come in. The rest of the crowd made plenty of insinuations, but Elsie didn't say much, whatever she thought. Anyway, before the next dance, we were engaged, and that summer of 1899 we were married. After that, I could concentrate with better peace of mind on ridding the locality of the lawless class. They were holding us hostage from becoming civilized. Hardy wasn't jailed until 1903. He was one of the last big ringleaders. We had him in the death cell to be hung for a whole series of crimes when he made his last break for life, and that almost ended mine. But the story of how he schemed with 4 others to get Harry Cosner, the sheriff, and probably myself, and how we trailed them to the hills and won, is a story in itself. We'll leave that for later.